Hello, D-Gens. Welcome to Degenerate Takes Happy Hour Sports Talk. I, of course, am the Brofict one, AJ. Happy Friday, August 1st, 2025. Hope you're having an incredible Friday. Had a great week and ready for an incredible weekend because we do have a lot to talk about today. A little bit of a news dump today on Friday with the NFL and ESPN coming to some sort of agreement upon NFL Network and Red Zone. We'll get to that along with the MLB trade deadline, the issues with the Cowboys and the NFC East, and not being able to sign players, along with a little bit of everything else. Before I go any further, though, I do just want to take a moment to shout out everyone watching here over on YouTube, over on X. Y'all are the best. If you like what we're cooking, please hit those like buttons, hit the follow buttons. Does help us out a lot more than you know. But yeah, let's go ahead and start. I mean, I guess we can officially say it. Football's back. Football is all the way back, starting with the Hall of Fame game yesterday with the Chargers putting an absolute beatdown on the Lions. Trey Lance actually looking like a starting quarterback going up against the 2s and the 3s. So shout out to Trey Lance. And I guess not waste these last 4 years. He's been just kind of floating around in the NFL trying to find his spot. But if Herbert gets injured, it does look like the Chargers will have a nice little backup there. But that's not where we're going to start today. No, that's not where we're going to start today. We're going to start with some huge news coming out of the NFL and ESPN. As NFL and ESPN have reached an agreement that gives ESPN access to Red Zone, NFL Network, 7 more regular season games, fantasy football rights, and more in exchange for equity in ESPN, potentially worth billions per Andrew Marchand and Ari Mirov. This is a deal that has been cooking for the last couple of weeks and has been, especially in the last couple of weeks, it's gotten a lot more loud. It's gotten a lot more out there, and almost as if they were floating it. ESPN was floating it, trying to see what the whiplash would be there. But they've officially made it official. They've already announced that it does seem like NFL Red Zone will be getting advertisements coming to it, which does make sense considering last season they did test that out on a couple of Red Zone streams during the end of the season. And so, once they showed that ads can be put involved, that is something that ESPN was started to lick its chomps at. Not to mention other talk within Disney of spinning off ESPN, but that's a whole other conversation for another time. It's a lot of nothing to me. It really is. For example, everyone's worried about Red Zone. Yes, we will be getting advertisements. That is going to be the worst thing that happens in this merger with ESPN, or this purchase that ESPN does have over the NFL Network and Red Zone. But if the ads are the worst thing to come out of this deal, I do think we're in a better spot than not. And ESPN already, more than anything, monopolizes sports talk and NFL talk. It's not just what they have. And why do they dominate? They dominate it because no other platform really puts out, I guess you could say, good. I hate to say that, but I guess halfway decent, sports media coverage. FS1 is an absolute mess. That's why they had to redo their entire morning roster and fire everyone there. Peacock, yeah, they got the Dan Patrick show on Peacock, but nothing really, on TV in your face. Like NBC Sports is such a lost channel that I always forget it exists until something I want to watch is on it. But so ESPN getting more involved in this, I understand the worry of, Stephen A. Smith, Mel Kiper, those guys getting more involved in the NFL product. And I don't see that being a thing. And yes, during contract negotiations for Stephen A. Smith, part of that was he wanted to be more involved in Monday Night Football coverage, NFL coverage. And what that ends up looking like, I think we will see. I think we'll see what that looks like. I hate to say it this way, but it almost feels like ESPN is having a little buyer's remorse with that huge Stephen A. deal. And I'm not sure why. And I get it's the summer and everything, and maybe they're really just saving, his big reveal for what he's going to be doing with the NFL and everything, come towards the regular season. But, it's been a lot of the same. Granted, it sounds like he's definitely getting a new co-host for First Take as ESPN and Shannon Sharp go ahead and officially separate themselves. Ocho Cinco being rumored to take that spot. But I wouldn't be worried about that. I wouldn't be worried about Mel or McAfee or anyone doing anything more than they're already doing. And maybe I see guys like Field Yates getting a little bit more involved on the fantasy side of it. It's because it essentially seems that's all he does now until draft time comes around. And then he's mini Mel Kiper just running around. But overall, it's not the worst thing in the world. It's not. And we've suffered through so many worse things as sports fans that this is almost a non-starter. It's a big deal for ESPN and a big deal for the NFL. ESPN securing more media rights of the giant that is the NFL. The NFL securing a stake. I believe the rumored equity for this was around 10% of ESPN. So acquiring 10% of any media company, acquiring 10% of the biggest sports media company in the world, that's good business. That's good business to have on your books and to have, a seat at the table essentially for decisions that get made regarding NFL and how they show that product. And so it's good for all parties involved. Not the worst thing for the fans. Sorry, Red Zone watchers. Yes, you're going to be getting advertisements. You're going to have to suffer through those like we do every Sunday. So I feel for you, but small tears for me. But yeah, that's that big deal coming out there. Ocho Cinco maybe taking Shannon Sharp's spot. I don't know. I don't have. Okay. How do I say this? The formula for First Take is just so overdone. And I really thought with McAfee coming to ESPN, we might be going through a little bit of a sports renaissance. Away from the 2-3 decades of debate shows and going more back towards sports talk. And ESPN's kind of doing that, bringing the Rich Eisen show back to ESPN Plus in the same time zone, in the same time slot as McAfee, which I'm sure is just a terrible coincidence. But I really thought we were going to, it's tired. You can put anyone there, and that's the thing. You can put anyone in that spot and it's going to be fine. You do probably want a former athlete in there. Ocho Cinco, Pac-Man Jones, if you want to go ahead and roll those dice, I like that. But if Ocho wants to go and make that bag, he can go make that bag. I would have no hard feelings towards Ocho for that. It doesn't seem like a desirable spot. And I guess I'm just speaking from personally, if ESPN called me up tomorrow, yes, I would take it because that'd be the biggest break in my life. But at the same time, I would rather Rome call me. I would rather Eisen call me. I'd rather anyone else really call me than First Take. It's just such a tired, and yes, they still do great numbers and XYZ. But again, you can't really get much else out there unless you really go and look for it like this show. You know what I mean? And then this show's even handicapped by, my work schedule and my life and everything. And it's not my dedicated thing. And so it's like this. But I don't know. ESPN has just gotten so complacent with themselves. And it shows. They're not doing anything to push the envelope. They're not doing anything to reinvent themselves. They're very comfortable with what their product is and how it's perceived, and they're fine putting it out there every single day. Do they talk about half the sports in America? No. They talk about the NFL and the NBA and then the WNBA during the summer. So the worldwide leader, yeah, you can still call them that, but in all sports, I doubt that. Jesus Christ. Again, Stephen A., I love baseball is not that hard, bro. If you're scared of learning about baseball, I get it, but you can jump into it and then form an opinion real quick. And not just, the Yankees are going to do great because Aaron Judge is an absolute stud and they just need to get Shohei Ohtani. That's Stephen A. baseball talk for you right there. Seriously, it's so annoying, man. It's so annoying. And we're going to get to the deadline in a moment, but it's just so annoying. But anyway, staying in the NFL, Busy week for teams who have not signed some of their superstars to new deals, and those two teams being the Commanders and the Cowboys. Terry McLaurin, Scary Terry for the Commanders, has requested a trade, as it doesn't seem like they're getting close to numbers. And as of today, Micha Parsons himself has gone ahead and requested a trade away from the Dallas Cowboys, essentially saying he's tired of this bullshit and keeping it moving. That's after a report was put out earlier today stating that Micha Parsons and ownership and GM and everything kind of talked in the spring towards the end of the season, and it felt like they had a deal already worked out. But Michael wanted his agent to take care of all of that stuff. And so then when the agent came to the Cowboys were like, whoa, we're done. No, we're not negotiating with you. We already talked to Micha. We're already good to go. Let's get this done. And that's not how it's going. That's not how it's going whatsoever. And man, for both sides, it's tough. And the long of the short of it is, do I see either players moving or getting traded before the season starts? No, I don't. I think if Terry McLaurin goes away from that offense, I don't think that offense is going to be nearly as explosive, and they can't get a guy in there before the season starts to really take over that position that Terry has gotten for him. And Cowboys, I mean, listen, Micha Parsons can bitch and moan all he wants. We've all seen this story before. We've all seen this story before. And, Dak and CD, when they went through their deals, no, they didn't demand a trade or anything like that. But there were rumblings, especially with CD, about demanding a trade out of this, not wanting to deal with all of the bullshit, essentially, that is dealing with Jerry Jones within negotiations, which there are multiple stories out there about how much of a pain in the ass he is to negotiate with. Which, again, he's Jerry Jones. I wouldn't imagine that he's the easiest guy to talk to in general, let it go negotiate a multi-hundred million dollar deal with. So, glad that some stuff we think about Jerry and stereotypes are just damn straight on. But it's a bad look for the organizations. That's what it comes down to at the end. And I could take it separately, but at the end of the day, that is what it comes down to. It's a bad look for the organization, more for the Cowboys, I would say, than the Commanders, because the Commanders have only been good for one season. If ownership really wants to go ahead and pull out the numbers, yeah, Terry McLaurin didn't really have great numbers, but then you put a half decent quarterback back there like Jaden Daniels, damn, he was a solid option. You know what I mean? And so, whatever. But again, Scary Terry was a big part of how good that offense looked last year, along with Jaden Daniels. And so showing that loyalty, a guy who's been there through the bad times and now is getting to the good times, and you don't want to pay the man that's helping you get there. Same thing with Micha Parsons. Don't get me wrong. Times haven't been good for the Dallas Cowboys in a long, long, long time. And they will not be good for a long, long, long time if they keep trading their players like this. This is not the first time that we've seen Jerry Jones, essentially go through this. This is not the second time. It's actually the third time in the same amount of years that we've seen Jerry Jones absolutely drag out negotiations and contracts with players that we know he is going to re-sign because he's Jerry Jones and he's not going to let them walk. And that's where it starts to get frustrating. I mean, seeing Fire Jerry Jones start trending on Twitter earlier today, Cowboys fans ain't happy with it, and they shouldn't be happy with it. You know what I mean? They shouldn't be happy with it. How bad Jerry Jones has been as a GM over the last couple of years. The fact that we had to wait literally until a couple hours before kickoff on the first game for Dak Prescott to get his deal done. It's not only just a bad look of not taking care of guys that have been there before, but it's bad management. And we've already had not Trey Hendrickson, Myles Garrett, TJ Watt get those contracts. I mean, the market is pretty much set for what Micha Parsons' deal should be. Now, is he better than TJ? Is he better than Myles? Is he better than Trey Hendricks? Up for debate, but yeah, he's up there. He's one of the best DNs you're going to see out there, and he's worth that money. But Jerry Jones is getting himself into that spot yet again where he is letting everyone else dictate the market when he could get ahead of this and then sign other players so the team's actually half decent. You go up to anyone and you say, can you name 3 Dallas Cowboys? Yeah, Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, Micah Parsons. Maybe they'll throw Diggs in there. I doubt it, but maybe they'll throw Diggs in there. My point being, this isn't basketball. This isn't baseball. This isn't hockey. You can't build your team solely around 3 guys. You need the depth. You need every position to have something so that on both sides of the ball, you're not just getting double teamed on one guy and then your offense and defense fall to shit because you can't do anything because the guy you waited to sign and spend all that money on is getting double teamed, triple teamed because he has no help. They have no help. This is going to be a bad season for the Dallas Cowboys. There is no doubt in my mind. Not only are you getting a new head coach in there, yes, I get he's been in the building and everything, but still, new head coach, new way the games are going to operate, new way he's calling stuff, new way the new DCs and OC is going to call stuff. I mean, just another level of distraction that the Cowboys could easily avoid, but Jerry Jones loves this spotlight. We all know that. Jerry Jones, he loves it. He loves that whenever he turns on ESPN, whenever he turns on any sports network like this one. He knows that we're going to talk about Jerry Jones and Micah Parsons and the Dallas Cowboys. And it's like, yeah, Jerry, don't get me wrong. When newspapers and stuff were a thing, that was a great way to keep your name in headlines during the slow time. So that no one ever forgot about America's team, the Dallas Cowboys. Welcome to the 21st century where we're just sick and tired of it, Jerry. And it just shows that you're a bad owner and a bad GM. It really makes everyone rethink just how lucky you got back in the 90s. Seriously. So that's all I got to say on that. I mean, again, it's disappointing. It's frustrating. It's got to be frustrating for the players. It's got to be frustrating for ownership. I mean, it's probably not even frustrating for ownership. Jerry Jones knows at the 11th hour he's going to slide across a contract that is everything Michael wants and a little bit more because he can. And that's the issue. That's the issue. We all know we're going to get there, Jer. We all know we're going to get there. Let's get there. We don't have to take the scenic route every time. You shouldn't just get it done. It's terrible. Absolutely awful. But, yeah. Oh, last thing, I guess, in the NFL. Kind of a big deal. Yesterday in the Hall of Fame game, big debut. First time in the NFL, we have electronic measurements. This one obviously showing a first down. What did you expect? Like, what did anyone really expect? That it wasn't going to be just like golf, just like soccer? I mean, it's the same exact technology. Like, guys, this is... And now people are bitching about it, and I know it's just the main account for Barstool, but still, there are people bitching and moaning about it, saying bring back the chain game, yada yada yada. We've been calling for this for 5 years now, and we're getting it, and we're already bitching about it in a preseason game. Come on! First of all, in a situation like this, no, not the groundbreaking or what you want or anything like that. You know what I mean? It's not a big moment, and so it doesn't mean a lot. But think about it, fourth quarter, down by a touchdown, down by 3 points. You go for it on 4th and 2, 4th and 3, 4th and 1. And there's a lot of confusion. That's going to be a big moment. And then it's good. It's good. We're taking it out of the refs' hands. They have enough to worry about. Let them make bad other calls and let this one not be a bad call and get this one right. Because we have the technology. We might as well use it. And it was a matter of time before this actually got introduced into the NFL. And I'm happy it is. I really am. And I think gamblers more than anything are happy. Win, lose, draw, we just want it to be fair. And we want it to be on the same playing field. The last thing we want is a ref fest or anything like that. We want the players to go out there and do their thing. And this takes away a little bit of the judgment call from the officiating crew. Or praying that they see it the same way you're seeing the replay. And so I am okay with the virtual thing. Will it piss me off when it fucks the Cardinals in week 2 or week 1? Probably. But it's a good system. I'm glad they're finally implementing it, and should have been done a long time ago. But hey, here we are today. But yeah, exciting stuff in the NFL. Gotta love it. We're all the way back. We're all the way back. I'm stoked for it. I'm stoked for all the preseason games. And I'll watch a little bit of everything, see who's starting, see who's not, and really start to analyze. We're ready. We're so back. We're so back. It's awesome. It is awesome. But let's go ahead and get into what has been a very painful 24 hours for me personally, as the MLB trade deadline was yesterday, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And wow, were there sellers, were there buyers, and were there some teams that just have accepted their fate. I'm not going to dive deep and I'm not going to dive into every single trade that was made, because at the end of the day, a lot of it is some depth guys and some guys that might not see the field, and a lot of prospects changing hands here at the trade deadline. I do just want to touch on a couple of the bigger winners here for this. I thought I had my thing set up correct, but I did not. So give me 2 seconds. And I want to go ahead and start with the biggest, in my opinion, the biggest winners and the team that really put themselves into position to make a run towards the end of this season. This team has been absolutely killing it, and started with kind of a slow burn at the beginning, in the first quarter of the season, really picked it up towards the All-Star game, and now really making that punch into the back end of the season. McCormick in the chat, how you doing, bud? That being the Seattle Mariners, 58-52 right now, 4.5 games back from the struggling Astros. Struggling kind of, they get Carlos Correa back, get another cheater back in the building along with little boy Jose Altuve. But Mariners made a lot of moves. They made a lot of moves, and a lot of moves with the D-backs, which I don't know how I feel about that, but we have made a lot of moves with the Mariners in the past, and this is reflecting of that. And they really only made 3 big trades. The Josh Naylor trade with the D-backs, where the D-backs go ahead and get a couple relief pitchers in their bullpen yet again. I saw Brandon Garcia's first outing as a D-back. Holy shit, was that miserable. And then a couple of days later, Mariners do put the nail in the coffin for the D-backs with the trade of Eugenio Suarez to the Mariners in return for Tyler Locklear at first base, right-handed pitcher Hunter Cranton, and Juan Burgos, also a right-handed pitcher. The D-backs would go on to make many more moves, including getting rid of Merrill Kelly, sending him to the Rangers for a shit ton of prospects, getting rid of a bunch of other pieces of our bullpen that's not really a good bullpen. So the D-backs have absolutely no hope for the rest of the season. Thus, I'm still support them, though. They're my boys. Still going to support my boys, even though they make me want to put my head into a wall, and not in a good way like Dan Campbell would. But the Mariners add big bats. They had big bats, and that is really what this lineup has been suffering from this season. They've been able to get on base. They've been able to move guys around and get RBIs, but they haven't had that power in the lineup. Josh Naylor, already in the short time he's been with the Mariners, has been cranking balls. Gino Suarez is going to rake for him. It's a great move for the Mariners and sets them up very nicely going into August and September. Will it be enough? Maybe not. Let me double check where they're at in the wild card race right now. Oh, they're right there. They're even right now. They'd be right behind they're 1 game behind the Red Sox right now. They're kind of the standard bearer right now. They're a game above the Rangers, 3 games above the Guardians. So they got some work to do. No ifs, ands, or buts about that. I do think the extra run production is going to be able to help what has been a very steady bullpen this season. Brian Wu really stepping into his own this season. He had a good season last year, I think, really kind of cementing himself as an ace, as a guy who can go out there and get you 5 2/3, get you 6 innings, in something we don't see out of a lot of young pitchers nowadays. So great move from the Mariners. Not overly complicated. They knew the pieces they wanted, and they went out and got them. Next team. A team that has been playing well and has been standout, I would say, in a very crowded division, or what was a very crowded division before the trade deadline, and that being The San Diego Padres currently sitting 3 games behind a struggling Los Angeles Dodgers team right now. And I gotta say, I like the moves. I like a lot of these moves that they made. The trade with the Athletics, getting Mason Miller and JP Sears for just a bunch of prospects, and also a good trade for the A's there. And it's not anything splashy, it's not anything big, but you get the number 1 prospect in Leo DeVries, number 3 prospect and a pitcher of Brandon Nett, and bunch of other top 20 prospects into your farm system that you can call up when you eventually move to Vegas or stay there in Sacktown. But good move if they are actually looking at rebuilding and being competitive when they rebuild. I like the addition of Ryan O'Hearn and Ramon. I'm not even going to try. That last name's hard. But the only move I was kind of questioning about, but it's mostly just a depth thing, and it's going to end up being their relief type day. You know what I mean? A relief bullpen day. Bullpen day. That was what I was looking for. A bullpen day. That being Nestor Cortez. It hasn't been overly impressive with his stint with the Brewers since the Yankees let him go, and not a guy that I'm expecting a lot out of in the back half of the season. Yes, he performs well enough that with the right amount of run support, he can squeak out a couple of wins, but he's not going to give you those shutout 5 innings like he could a couple of years ago. I think he'll be in that 4 or 5 spot for their rotation, and he's a guy that you're going to have to pull 3.5, 4 innings in. So, but overall, good moves on the offensive side, solid moves on the pitching staff for the Padres. And then I do have an honorable mention being the Dodgers, just because they are the Dodgers, and I do think they'll figure this one out. The biggest losers, teams that were expected to make a lot of moves and didn't really make a lot of moves, or didn't make moves that surely didn't sit well with the fan bases. Starting with the Minnesota Twins. Holy shit. Talk about an absolute fire sale. Trading away 10 of the 26 available on the roster. Unbelievable stuff from the Twins. Now, they remove about $30 million away from their payroll. There have been rumors now for a long time that they are preparing to sell, getting ready to sell, and this could have been a move to make the books look a little bit better, that, hey, listen, it's 30 million less with guys that haven't been producing. Let's go ahead and you can rebuild. You can come in and rebuild. Buy this team. You can come in and rebuild in your vision, and you're good to go. It looks like the Twins are going that way. Yankees and Red Sox fans were also pissed off at the deadline. And granted, Yankees not doing much. Red Sox really not doing much, but it happens. It happens. You guys are still sitting in good spots. I wouldn't bitch and moan too loud, but yeah, D-backs also kind of waving the white flag for the season, getting rid of Kelly, getting rid of Suarez, getting rid of Naylor, getting rid of Montgomery, getting rid of et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And they're in full rebuild mode. And I hate to say that, but listen, our pitching staff, most of our pitching staff isn't going to be healthy until 27. And so 26 is going to be a miserable season. And so they're going to try to do whatever they can, but I'm not feeling overly optimistic about it at this time. But yeah, those are my winners and losers of the MLB trade deadline. Shout out to them. And again, the only team that's really shifted my perspective on going into the back half of the season here is the Mariners. I truly think the Mariners have put themselves in such a nice spot right now, where even if they get into even if they just get a wild card spot, they're going to be looking pretty. But I think they have a chance to go out there and really just wrap up this division, get ahead of the Stros, and move forward. So shout out to the Mariners. It's been a couple of years coming now that they should be in this spot. Not only buyers at the deadline, but buyers that can put themselves in a position to do really well. So excited for what the Mariners are going to do at the back half of the season. Not excited for what my D-backs are going to do at the back half of the season. But hey, the D-backs have done a lot more with a lot less. So that's going to be my mantra for the next 2 weeks. And then I'm going to probably call for everyone to be fired. But typical fandom of an Arizona guy. So, Yeah, but that's all I got today. Nice little short episode, getting us, back into the groove for football season coming at you. We will be live next Monday. What are we covering again? We are covering the AFC East. No, excuse me, the AFC and NFC West. That will be our division breakdown on Monday, along with overreacting any other news and action going on this weekend. You're not going to want to miss it. And then also next week, debuting, if all technology works, golfing with AJ, golfing with the Brofict one. So you're not going to want to miss that and those streams next week if technology works for me. So let's hope it does. But hey, thank you all again for listening. Thank you all again for watching. Shout out to everyone watching here, Rumble, YouTube, and X. Y'all are the best. If you like what we're cooking, please hit those like buttons, hit those follow buttons. Does help us out a lot more than you know. But with all that being said, have an incredible Friday night. Have a great weekend. I'm the Brofict one, AJ, and I'll see you next time on Degenerate Takes.